Okay, welcome everyone to the GNRBA Farmbot webinar. We're here today to sort of offer any support that we can and also to introduce the general concept of Farmbot to everyone and answer any questions that you might have. So I'm here today with Nick Donnelly from Farmbot. He's going to take us through the Farmbot ecosystem. My name's Olivia. I'm in the communications team. And we've got Amanda Day, CEO of GNRBA here today. Thanks for joining us, Amanda. Amanda's going to talk about her experience with Farmbot and talk through how Farmbot can be helpful for her. And then we've got Trevor Hodgson from Atlee Station, who uses it on property in WA. So he'll talk a bit about his experience as well. So welcome all the speakers. A little bit of housekeeping. If you do have a question, just write it, just put it in the Q&A at any time, and I'll either write a response or we'll let one of the speakers know if it's a question specifically for one of the speakers. And we're also going to send out the recordings post-event as well and have them up on the GNRBA website. Okay, so over to Nick. Thanks so much, Nick.
Thanks, Olivia. And thank you everyone for joining us today. I'm just going to share my screen. Hopefully this works. Sometimes it doesn't, so I apologize in advance. Just give it a second to load. Ooh. Okay. So Farmbot really was born from a passion to solve a problem. Craig Hendricks started the business because he ran a property quite some distance away from his office job, and he took a step back and he thought, well, how do I make this better? You can't perform a water run when you are in a city and you're miles and miles away from your property. So what he did was he took a step back and had a look at that problem, and he thought, well, I'd love to be able to see my water infrastructure performing from afar, and that's what really snowballed into what Farmbot is today. We service over 4,000 enterprises across Australia. From your guys' perspective, I mean, you probably get up every day, the first thing you think about is water. The last thing you think about is water. The question, the problem, it never really goes away. And I mean, when's a good time to know that you've got a problem? The answer is now. So what Farmbot has developed is a technology that can be utilized over satellite or cell network. And it's designed to give you alerts in near real time when you have a problem, where you have that problem. So, I mean, I would think immediately you can see what the benefits are from technology such as that. It's essentially, it's giving you back the opportunity to choose what you do with your time. So when it comes to spending time out there in the paddock, driving around, potentially even in a helicopter where you guys are, it's super labor intensive. Being able to see each one of those water points in near real time and have access to the information, to be able to download that information, to use that information, to receive messages in real time when you've got problems, particularly when it relates to livestock, it's invaluable, really. We hear that feedback continually from our customers. So as costs, continue to rise, to climb from a labor perspective, I mean, labor is so difficult to get your hands on. To have that ability to remotely monitor water across the types of scale that we're talking to with what you guys are involved in, it's been transformative from our customers' perspective. Oops, sorry guys, I'm having a few technical issues here. Sorry, Olivia.
All good.
There we go. Everything's frozen.
We can see your next slide if you want to talk to it.
Yeah, that's all right. Sorry, it's my laptop unfortunately froze there. There we go. So how does the technology actually work? I mean, from your perspective, you can log in on your mobile phone. You can log in from your computer, and it's essentially giving you the opportunity to make decisions from afar. So you're going to receive these alerts and text messages via your phone, via email, in near real time. You can do things like operate pumps remotely. You can see tanks, all on that map view that's on the left-hand side. And as I've mentioned, it's going to reduce your operational efficient, increase your operational efficiency. So from a labor, fuel, insurance, consumables, travel perspective, you're going to be able to take back control. You can analyze that water usage and the consumption. So we've got the ability to now download data, even go as far as comparing year on year, what's happened from paddock to paddock. And you can essentially you're reducing the critical risk failure across your most important asset, which is water. What does that look like for you? So on a day-to-day basis, you can log in to the platform and you have a top-down view of your property. So on the right-hand side there, you can see what the most valuable asset of Farmbot is, which is the software. You'll log in, you'll see a map view. So on that map view right there, you can see all of the infrastructure that has been installed from a Farmbot perspective, and then a really quick snapshot as to what's happening at each part of the property. It's a very simple traffic light system. So green, everything's good. Amber, keep an eye on it. Red, you have a massive issue. Get out there and fix it up. And it's giving you that peace of mind that you otherwise would not have had access to. In a practical sense, this is what it would look like. So there's a few examples on screen here of the types of issues that you will come across. A critical alert on a tank. So it might be that you've had a leak. You're going to get a text message as soon as you input the high, low, critical low, and then leak alert information in the software. When it crosses one of those barriers, you're going to get a text. You can see there as well, something that was really, really important in the sort of second phase of Farmbot's evolution was building in pumps. So yes, we've covered off tanks, but what's next? What's the other thing that you must check when you're out in the paddock? It's your pump. The ability now to turn on and off pumps. Rainfall, everyone wants to know about what's happened across their property from a regrowth perspective, even to what's happened next door, which is the one question everyone wants answered. And then right out to the end of your water infrastructure line, which is troughs, and then potentially fuel tanks as well. The story of Farmbot is ever evolving. So here you can see a visual aid as to where we're up to now in the blue, and then where we're going to go to next. We continually add and innovate, and it's based on the feedback that we've received from you guys out there in the market. We speak to producers daily. We do trials with people like yourselves all the time. There's many of them running actively right now. That's to verify that what we're going to bring, it really speaks to the problems that you actually have and the problems that you want to solve. And that's been the case from the very beginning, from Farmbot's perspective. It's why we are where we are today. We take customer feedback extremely seriously. We do NPS surveys every year, and from those NPS surveys, that's what essentially leads to the innovation and the product that you'll see come to market in the future. This is one of many testimonials we've had from our customer base. Ben Mills, up in the Kimberley there, is essentially in summary saying that it's saved him an awful amount of time and money. It's made him more efficient. It gives him the peace of mind that he never knew he needed, to be honest, or he never knew he'd get, certainly from installing something like Farmbot, and essentially is built into his daily routine. So Ben and many others will pull Farmbot up in the morning. They'll put it up on a screen, on the TV, on the laptop. They'll have a look at what's happening across the property and then allocate tasks based on the feedback that they've had. So it's really become a massive part of their day. In terms of the product itself, I mean, the product, it's really all about the software, but the product itself captures the data. So what is a Farmbot monitor in itself? It's a hub. You can plug multiple different sensors into it. The most popular is on the screen right now. It goes on top of a tank. It's a pressure sensor, and you're going to get the level of the tank as soon as you turn it on. And all of the alerts that are based on whatever inputs you've asked it to tell you about. Most of our customers will combine that, so 78% actually will combine that with a rain gauge. Really simple, plug it in, attach it to the top of the tank, and you're going to have two streams of data then coming from one place, two of the most important pieces of information that we can provide. The rain gauge itself as well, in terms of its feedback, you can now do year-on-year comparisons and all sorts of interesting things, to be honest with you, that will help build a better picture as to what the yield potential is potentially on property, and also inform you as to what's happened really in terms of distribution from one side to the other. We may then continue the story out into dams and bore level sensors. There's all sorts of different level sensing that you can kind of build the system out into. We normally would see, from a customer perspective anyway, that people start off with tanks and then they realize we do an awful lot more. There's no pressure to think about everything all at once. It's really all about fixing the problem that you believe you face today, testing it out because you'll immediately see benefit, and then really building slowly into what you believe is going to give you the most amount of benefit. And then hand in hand with tanks is obviously pumps. You can now pair the pump with the tank as well. So we can turn on and off a pump versus the level of water in a tank. You're going to increase the life expectancy of your pump, but you're also going to increase the efficiency of water usage as well out there in the paddock. And then one for the most remote areas is having a visual on troughs in particular. There's a lot of customers in the most remote areas of the country that do use satellite cameras to take images of troughs and other infrastructure as well. I think Amanda, who's on the call, actually does utilize this technology and may speak to it shortly as well. It's really good for peace of mind. I mean, if you've got a trough that's an awful long way away from the homestead, you'll be able to see immediately why this is a really useful tool, because you do need more information than just what's the level of water in that trough. What I will talk to after this is support, but because it's Christmas, we've gone live with a little bit of a deal, 15% off on all of our hardware. That runs until the 20th of December, so we can talk to that in a bit more detail after Amanda's had a chat. But I would say, I'll stop sharing, but what I would like to say in a bit more detail is the support network from a Farmbot perspective. Farmbot has been customer service led since its inception. The department that I head up, sales, is secondary, to be honest with you. We're really all about customer service. If you do need to speak to anybody, Olivia will share firstly the customer service line details, but I'll probably talk a bit more about the people behind the number. Jen and her team. Jen is head of customer service. There are 4 people in her team. They're based around the country. So we have Mel in WA, and then we have a couple of the team in Queensland and one here in New South Wales. That's because we want people that you can reach and speak to in your own time zones, essentially, people that have experienced things that you've experienced. When it comes to the sales team, there's 6 people here in head office that are available anytime you need them. So you can pick the phone up and someone will answer. And if they don't have the answer, you'll speak to Jen and her team immediately. And then when things get a bit more complicated, we also have a tech team. So there's a tech team that runs in the background that supports customer service. So anything that gets really, really complicated, we're there, we'll find the answer, and we'll support you.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Nick.
I do apologize for the technical. My laptop froze, so I apologize, everybody.
It was no worries at all. So now we're going to hear from Amanda Day from GNRBA. Amanda's going to talk a little bit about her experience with Farmbot, information that she's been able to glean, and she's also got a few words from another person who uses Farmbot in WA as well. So thanks so much, Amanda.
Thanks, Team Farmbot. Yeah, it's really great for GNRBA to have the opportunity to be part of the webinar and as we said, it'll go onto our GNRBA website as soon as we can, hopefully today. My sort of story started a bit with Farmbot a fair way back when I suppose Coppo Andrew was sort of setting up the business as well, and they came to WA and had a chat to me. I was working for Elders at the time, so we did a fair bit of work with, creating interest in Farmbot from that platform. And then becoming involved with GNRBA was really important. That was giving me the opportunity to see what was happening out there, and a lot of our Nullarbor people in particular were picking up with the Farmbot, especially Rawlinna, which was working with Jimmy Wood at the time and put a lot of Farmbot in place. And they've been out there and gradually coming into the system with a couple of quite good reps that we had out on the station. And then we also worked with Farmbot to have, people come to WA and attend some of our events, Nullarbor Muster and our AGMs and so forth, which was really beneficial to our area and I guess to Farmbot as well, to spread the word. We have, as what I do is CEO of the Goldfields Nullarbor Rangelands Biosecurity Association, and we do biosecurity work with pest animals and weeds and cactus in our goldfields and Nullarbor. A big part of that is supplying wild dog baits to our members, and we have a facility where we have 2 quite large freezer units in place to hold these baits. So at any time they can hold up to $40,000 worth of wild dog baits in a frozen form. And we did not have a successful monitoring system for those. So when I started this job, to be quite frank with you, it scared me half to death that we had that much money sitting there and no really good monitoring system. So the monitoring systems that you have basically all rely on power, and you can still get a report from them. They work well, but if the power's out, they're out. So that led me to thinking that Farmbot with the camera system may well work. The only problem we had with that is that the LED thermometers on these new units could not be read by the ordinary Farmbot camera. So we worked with the team at Farmbot and they were able to get us a quite sensitive camera which would read the red LED thermometer. So we put one in place which had initially been reading our main freezer, which travels at -22 Celsius. And about 3 days before our AGM, just quite recently, I've been away, I went up to Kalgoorlie. I have a photograph taken at 6 o'clock every morning, or I can book a photograph at any time. Right now I can go on my phone and get a photograph taken to show me what that thermometer is doing. Anyway, it was telling me it was gradually getting hotter. It was -19, -10. So I thought, holy cow, that's not ideal. I sent my LPMT, Neil White, out there to monitor the situation when I couldn't get to site. And he said, oh, you've got a problem with it icing up. So we were able to call our technician from Red Desert Refrigeration in Kalgoorlie, and they went out and discovered that, yeah, there was a failure. So the evaporator had iced up. So for a cost, half a day's work, a cost of about $1,100, we're able to save, it's $40,000 worth of wild dog baits for a start. Then if it had have failed, the whole unit have failed, the price to replace that is somewhere in the vicinity of about $30,000. So our investment in our Farmbot camera and the satellite Farmbot, which will work at any time. If the power's out in locally, then we can still use our Farmbot, and it's of course it's solar, so it runs without need of power. So yeah, it probably saved us, I would reckon, about $100,000, because if that fails and the baits go rotten, then someone's got to remove them. So I think that our investment in our Farmbot was well worth the effort. So we're in the process of getting another one to put on the other chiller, so I've got complete peace of mind. That's a pretty great success story for us already. And I've had a lot of people interested in what we do with Farmbot, but I did have, when I sent out the invitation for today's webinar, had a fellow from a station which is at Wanganoo, which is up, and I don't often hear from this fellow, but as soon as I sent this out, he got back to me, and I'll just read to you quickly what he had to say. He wouldn't be attending the event today, but he's got Farmbots installed on all of his water points, which, you know, it's a fairly big station, Wanganoo, and I'm not sure how many he's got there. Nick may know. But he said any problems are identified before the mill run, and any urgent issues can be dealt with immediately. The Farmbot are brilliant. There really is no brainer in the cost versus the benefit. Includes the advantages of animal welfare, as you can deal with a problem before the tank of water runs out and the broken trough floats or whatever it might be. And he also added that he had dealt with Nick, and that Nick was great. So I thought I'd like to pass that on. It's not often you get wonderful feedback. It's there, but if anyone wants to send some feedback to this team as to how it's working, good or bad, I'm sure that they will be able to manage that. But for us, it's the cost of other units to, except for Farmbot, to do what we needed to do, was to monitor our chillers, was far exceeded what we're paying. I know we also have the cost of the subscription and the photographs and whatever we do, but I haven't found anyone that's I can get that peace of mind except with Farmbot, especially from the power outages we have. This is still running during those times. And yeah, I think there's lots of things we'd like to try. Probably the biggest thing for me is if we could run both cameras off of one Farmbot. I don't think there's another port that we can do that at this point. So that's maybe something for the future, Nick. But yeah, well done on a good job and both your foresight in our area, because you've both shown great interest in what we're doing in the goldfields and the Nullarbor.
No, I appreciate that. I wasn't expecting a shout out either. I didn't pay for it, I swear.
That's the bottle of whiskey you're now owning, mate.
Yeah, I know, right? Clearly. I really appreciate it. No, we know I mean, I saw it last year with one of those potential grants that came through, that there was a lot of interest in Farmbot from that region. And I think the use case of Farmbot's really strong with producers around your area too, because we're obviously, it's our bread and butter, right? It's remote. It's exactly what Farmbot says we're good at, and we are. And I guess for further peace of mind, anyway, we've got over 100 enterprises that we manage in northern WA too. So in the most remote regions up there, they rely on Farmbot as well. And they've got, there's large properties up there that are probably quite comparable, to be honest with you, in size from up there to where you guys are. So there's lots of different regions, very remote regions of Australia, that see benefit from using Farmbot daily and planning around Farmbot and the feedback that we give you guys. And we hear this type of feedback. It's certainly not unique. It's something that we take enormous pride in, to be honest. It's from me personally, even on a personal level, to hear positive feedback, to work somewhere that you're actually making a difference. It's very refreshing, to be honest with you. It's powerful stuff a lot of the time, that we are genuinely changing people's lives, honestly. And that's the feedback that we genuinely get. So I really appreciate that, Amanda.
No worries.
Thanks, Amanda. Now we're over to Trevor Hodgson from Atlee Station. He's going to speak a little bit about his experience with Farmbot and take us through what everything's like for him. Thanks so much for joining us, Trevor. I think you're on mute, Trevor. Would you want to unmute yourself?
Yes, thanks, Olivia. Yes, sorry about that. Hey, yes, I started using Farmbots a couple of years ago after Andrew spoke to Carol at a GNRBA dough. We ordered one for one of our furthest waters, and it's saving us, I think it's 120k round trip once a week till we do it whenever, because we can check it every day. And following up on that success of that one, last year when they had the first tranche of the grants, we brought another 17 lights and 2 of the normal Farmbots, and 3 rain gauges. The Farmbots themselves, they save us so much time. In the morning we look at it, and as Nick says, and other people, that it's great. You can get on there, you can see if you've got a problem, you can see what your water flow's like, how much they're drinking, whether it's a sharp decline, whether it's just a decline and a rise, or whether the pump's not working and it's just a slow decline over time. It just takes all the guesswork out of it. It saves us, I don't know how many kilometres of driving, because we've got waters everywhere. So, yeah, no, it's just, I think it's the best thing since sliced bread. I'm so glad that we invested in it. It saves our time, as Nick says. It enables you to do other things other than be stuck with water runs once or twice a week and covering all those Ks. And, you know, it's quite difficult driving in this sort of country. It does smash your cars up a bit because I drive fairly fast. Also, I convinced another bloke on another station to look at the Farmbots. Well, what happened, he brought a bull a couple of years ago and came with a Farmbot, and he was that impressed. When the grants came up, he bought a heap more as well. So that's something else. Other than that, all I can say is they are just a fantastic idea. It saves time, money, worry. Yeah, and look, I just can't. I just can't say enough about him. Actually, I'm very impressed. So I'm here to answer any questions anybody has on them. It's it's just a positive thing for our station.
I've got a question for you, Trevor. Do you work by yourself?
Yeah, mate.
Or do you have an extended team?
No, it's it was myself and my wife. Now it's Carol stepped back a bit. She's always in Kalgoorlie, the GNRBA function. But yeah, it's me and my son. So I do the ordering around. I check it, and well, he checks it as well. But yeah, then we can work out what we're going to do, whether it's urgent, whether it can be done when we're up that way. So it's just me and my son, but it used to be just me. So, but yeah.
And what exactly do you do, Trevor? Like, what specifically are you? What does a day look like in Trevor's life?
Well, since I've got Matthew here, it's getting a bit slack actually. Look, typical day is it was water runs. It was going out and just fixing things up, you know, doing a bit of maintenance, doing a bit of repairs, just looking at the country, looking at the cattle.
Right.
Probably spent more time underneath vehicles than driving them, so there's always repairs to those. That's sort of like a typical day.
And how much has it changed from your perspective?
Oh, time-wise?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So how, in terms of
time now.
frequency, like you used to go out
Yeah.
how many times a week versus what does it look like now?
Oh, look, it's probably cut our time at least in half, if not a bit more. Other than the summertime, where you've got to make sure you've got your trough blocks in, you wouldn't really need to go out a great deal. So we still go out once a week in summertime. Wintertime can be as much as a week and a half, 2 weeks. If it's good water, it could be longer. It all depends on whether they're drinking there. They're drinking, you get that copper acting better, so you don't have to go out as much. If not, you got to go out and clean troughs. But yeah, basically, it's cut our time at least in half, if not a bit more. plus all the savings you got with that, with the fuel, the maintenance on your vehicles. So it's great.
Very good. Did we have any questions in the chat, Olivia?
Not at the moment. We don't have any questions that have come through yet, but if anyone has a question, now's a great time to ask it. We've got a lot of great minds here. It's a good opportunity to pick their brain.
I was just going to add that when the Farmbot first went out at Rulina, they have, and I don't use it on ours, obviously, but there's obviously a button you can press, so let people know that you're okay. So what happened with Rulina is that when Jimmy Wood was sending his people on a water run, when they got to a designated spot, they could press the button so that he knew, you know, if he had a team member who was on a motorbike doing a mill run, then they could let him know they were okay at that particular point. So that became a really important, safety mechanism that they were able to use.
Fantastic.
So what's that button, Amanda? I'm not aware of that.
No, I'm not sure where it is either, Trevor, to be completely honest with you. I know that Jimmy was having them use it, and Nick might be able to alert us more to this. But yeah, I haven't used it.
Yeah, so we have there is a very simple safety check-in product. It's a sensor that you can plug into an existing Farmbot. Essentially, you press the button when you get to a location, and it'll send an alert to tell whoever it is that's looking after the software that you're safe and you're where you should be.
Oh, very good.
What was that? Sorry, Trevor?
I said very good. Yes, no, that's good. I usually see whether Matthew's done the work and whether the water's going back up again in the tank. So I check, but yeah, no, that could be handy.
Yeah, it is, and it's certainly something that's relevant for your more remote properties. There's a few examples in different places, different states too, that this is being kind of slowly rolled out across larger corporates, for example, as well, would be using a product such as this. So, what do you have installed on your property, Trevor? What types of product did you end up?
As I said before, I've got 3 of the larger Farmbots. I've got 17 lights and 3 rain gauges. The rain gauges are great. We've got them spread 40 k's apart, so we get a snapshot of what's happened all the way down our western side of the property. Now, we had 100 mils at one water the other day. We had 60 at another and 80 at another. So, you know, that was a good drink all round. But it was good to see that where the actual water was, you know. So we haven't bothered going up to the north end where we've got the 100 mil. We'll leave it alone for a while. But yeah, no, it's really great to see where the water is falling.
Very good, yeah. Yeah, like I said before, that's probably the most common pairing with the Farmbot as an additional sensor as a rain gauge. Everyone wants to know how much water is falling out the sky. And we're getting more and more towards analytics, I guess is a way to put it, but giving you guys more information. So we're capturing this all this data, and it's simplifying it and giving you the opportunity to pull a report, a simple report that says you've had X amount of rain this year, and then being able to compare it to last year so that you can have a look at what results you did see, or even comparing paddock to paddock. So the rain gauge is one product that we've tried to put a lot more time and effort into, or we have put a lot more time and effort into, and we'll continue to. And then where Farmbot will start to excel in future is giving people like yourself, Trevor, more predictive analysis as well. So with trends, things that the software recognizes as similar, we can then alert you and say, hey, this looks like potentially you're going to have a leak, and help you out that way too. It looks like we do have a question in the chat.
Yeah, I'll read it out. It's from Greg Campbell, and he's asked, Unique, any chance to talk about the pump control in a little bit more detail?
Sure. There are 3 different types of hardware. There's a remote switch, which is low voltage, so a solar pump, a single phase and a 3-phase with different amperages. It's essentially opens and closes an electrical circuit. The remote switch can define whether a pump has started and stopped as well with a data cable. It's difficult to do that with other pumps because each one of them has different error codes. But what you will get from the information is on screen, you can see when the pump has been turned on and turned off, and you can pair it with a tank. So, or even a source. So if you wanted to pull water out of a dam, say, and you wanted it to pull out of the dam for 30 centimeters of that dam, you could do that. Or if you wanted it to push it into a tank, you can turn on the pump at, say, 60 centimeters of tank height and turn it off at 180 centimeters of tank height, getting rid of the need for a pressure sensor, for a pressure system, for float valves, etc. So you're going to increase efficiency, but you're going to take away from some of these systems that don't give you necessarily the freedom that you otherwise could have by using something that's completely controlled via software. I hope that answers the question in enough detail. If not, please continue in the chat, and I'll go further into as much detail as I can provide anyway.
And Greg, if you did want to have a one-on-one with someone from Farmbot in more detail, we'll also get in touch with you for that too. Okay, any other questions? Okay, great. Well, I just wanted to say a huge thank you to Nick and to Amanda and to Trevor for sharing their stories and their time today. We're going to have a recording of this up on the GNRBA website, and we'll also send some information out at the end of this event. So if you do have any more specific questions, please do reach out to myself or to Nick, and we'll be happy to help you and support you as best we can moving forward. Okay. Thanks so much, everyone. It was really great to see you all today.
Thank you both for initiating this.
Thanks, Amanda.
Thanks, Nick.
Thanks so much, Trevor.
Thank you, Trevor.
It was wonderful to hear your story.
No
Thank
worries.
you. Thanks. Bye, everyone.